Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Amit. Okay, first of all, thanks a lot to Arvind. I think that's a really tough act to follow. I have been partial towards India for the last 25 years. Always thought it's better to have a noisy discussion than not to have a discussion at all. So from that perspective, I'm fully aligned, and I'm here to show or tell you what you possibly and probably and likely know, and that is that it's not only that India is doing well, we also have a large number of Indian companies that are doing exceedingly well. Now, if you look at what is happening in the world is crazy, right? I can't remember seeing this much of volatility. We have definitely some exciting opportunities. We have the shared economy. We have new technologies. We are driving and pushing back the frontiers of how we do business, how we conduct our lives. That's great. We have terrorism. We have war. We have refugees. And we have monkeys in the United States trying to become presidents. Right? So I think that we are living in an environment where I just had the pleasure about 9 months ago or something to talk to the economist of the EIU. He was their Asian specialist, and they had done a risk assessment. And they said, okay, listen, there are 10 major risks to the world economy. Risk number 5 was Brexit. Everybody was laughing. Nobody thought it would happen. It happened. Risk number 2 was Trump being elected president. So I hope that we don't have to, or I would like to be disappointed on that part. So the world is complex. And the nice thing about this is, if you talk to people some 20, 25 years ago about India, they would basically quote Khrushchev. Khrushchev, when he came to India, said, okay, listen, we are in the Soviet Union. We do not believe in God. Coming here, I believe there has to be one. Otherwise, how does it work? Right? So India was always seen as a complex, as a volatile environment. Today, that's the norm. Everybody is facing this environment, and as a consequence, we need to find a way to handle this environment. And what we believe can be done, and is a good, valid answer, is to focus on 6 various levers. One is operational excellence. The second is innovation. Third is choices and trade-offs. Be clear about what you want to do. Fourth is alignment. Make sure everybody understands what you are all about. Leadership and courage and agility and serendipity. Right? Napoleon once said, was asked, so what kind of general would you like to have? And he said, a lucky one. Right? You just have to have sometimes a little bit of luck in life and then use that opportunity. Now, if we look at operational excellence, why is it so important for us? India is probably one of the most competitive, the most difficult markets that we know. Your customer is quality conscious and price conscious. You cannot go like in Germany, this is great quality, now give me lots of money. Doesn't work over here. You give quality at a price. The second thing is we are living in an environment where we have institutional voids. Logistics costs today are still dramatically higher than, for example, in China. It's not only that the Chinese government is supporting companies, it's also that we have some challenges that we're trying to fix, but that will take time to fix. Right? So we have to focus on operational excellence. How can it be done? We have great examples. Maruti Suzuki is one of them, and we have others that we have sort of looked at in the book. But Maruti Suzuki is a company that is unrelenting in their focus on details. Osamu Suzuki came into the factory. The first thing he would do is walk through the lines, pull up the drawers, and look if they're messy or not. If the drawers are messy, you are not efficient. Right? He would worry about how broad are the aisles, how far are people sitting from their supervisors, because I want to ensure connect. He would worry, and this is in 1983 in a government company at that particular point in time, that everybody from the managing director to the sweeper sits in the same canteen, wears the same uniform. Everybody pulls in the same direction. That is the kind of focus that people need. That is the kind of focus that they were driving. The second thing is they understand it's not only about them, it's an ecosystem. They drive sensible behavior with their suppliers, they drive sensible behavior with their dealers. What does this mean? They tell their supplier, listen, it does not make sense for you to have 3 different books. One for the IT department, one for yourself, one for me. you should make money, you should pay taxes, because only that will drive you towards an opportunity where you can potentially do an IPO, where you can take loans, you can expand much faster. Right? And obviously they are driving success via Japanese productivity tools, where they did both. Get the Japanese come over here and take hundreds of workers, send them to Japan to see how operational efficiency works in practice. Overall, they've created a virtuous cycle. Volume up, cost down. Volume up means I can bring my cost down. If I bring my cost down, I can sell more vehicles. Right? So really an outstanding example in terms of operational excellence. If you look at innovation, I've just done a study with the Bertelsmann Foundation on innovation in India and how important it is. But basically, in contrast to China, we cannot simply compete on cost. We have to be cost efficient, but that's not enough, because the Chinese give land away, they get free electricity, manpower is managed. So we have to innovate. We have to be able to compete in higher margin businesses if we want to be global players. And we've driven innovation along processes, along product, along business models, often via frugal innovation. A good example here is Godrej. Godrej set out to become an emerging market MNC. They said, okay, listen, I'm going to play in Latin America, I'm going to play in Africa, Southeast Asia, and India. That's more than enough for me. And the way they innovate is they say, okay, listen, I have a solution in, say, Argentina. Hair cream in sachets was such an example. Bring that to India, take out half the cost, and create a new market segment, a prestige market segment where I move people from hair powder to hair cream. Right? How do I do it? I work closely with my suppliers, and I change the way I do chemistry. I focus on the basic qualities and capabilities of my compounds, take out unnecessary testing. At the end of the day, I'm faster to market than MNCs. I can beat the MNCs simply because I'm more nimble, I can shoot faster, I can correct faster if I make a mistake. Right choices and trade-offs, and that's a big thing, right? Because what happened in India is, since we have all these institutional voids, many companies said, okay, listen, let me hedge. Tata is a good example, more than 100 companies in various businesses, right? I want to play a little bit all over the place, because if some sector goes down, I'm still fine over here. And who knows what is going to happen in the future. That is possible if you're really good at portfolio management. If you are a smaller player, then I think what Rajiv Bajaj would say applies, and that is simply, normally when you have a 5-star gourmet kind of cook, he is a specialist in French cuisine or Italian cuisine. He doesn't do everything. We try to do everything. Right? If you look at the German hidden champions, what they did is they wanted to be the best at something rather than something at everything. Right? And that is what choices are all about. You need to identify what you stand for. Bajaj is a good example. Rajiv basically decided, okay, listen, I want to go into the motorcycle segment. There's more money to be made. Globally, it's the largest segment. Fine, you do that. Then he decided, if I want to do motorcycles, I really can't do scooters. And I remember, the time I was with Mercedes in Pune, I remember that his father was not happy at all. They had very intense discussions. But he said, listen, nothing doing. I want to do one thing well. I don't have the manpower, I don't have the capacity, I don't have the money to do everything. I'll go out of scooters. Scooter is a commodity transport product. I don't want to do that. Right? Then he said, okay, listen, I'm either number one or I'm different. Hero at the time was number one in motorcycles with 100cc motorcycles. He tried it, failed, and then said, this is not the way to success. I have to have 150cc. I need to be at least 20-30% different from the market leader to excite interest. So he became the Yamaha of India. He became all about girlfriends on the back and nice design and lots of power. Right? That is what drove him not to the largest OEM in India, but globally he is one of the most profitable automotive companies. And last but not least, he said, okay, listen, if I do motorcycles, I will do them so well that I can compete globally. In 60% of his international markets, he's either number one or number two. he, together with KTM, was so successful that BMW tied up with TVS, right? That is a good example of choices, of clarity, and also courage, because quite frankly, everybody has given him hell. Why on earth did you give up on the Chetak and Hamara Bajaj, right? Alignment is crucial. Alignment is crucial simply because the world is complex. Your employees need to know what they need to do, not because you have a detailed menu, right, detailed instructions, but because they know what your company is about, they know how your company creates value for customers, and they execute the same time after time again. Indigo is a good example. They came up with a tailor-made value proposition. On time, courteous, hassle-free travel. And I sort of have to hurry up because I think I have 2 more minutes left. Right? Again, focus on one value proposition, making sure it's executed. The way they execute it is, for example, on time for them means on-time payment of suppliers. It also means that a training starts on time, ends on time. Right? And that is tracked not by some special executives who tracks training, it is tracked by the watchman. Right? So innovation across the value chain in everything you do to drive performance and success. Leadership and courage, I have some great examples. Mothers and Sumi is one. In the interest of time, I'll just skip it except for one comment. Chand basically was 18, 19 years old and sold, sorry, this thing is a little bit difficult, sold silver for his grandfather, made money, had to reinvest it because we had over 90% taxes, started a business. He went into becoming an automotive supplier for Maruti Suzuki, and time after time again took very courageous calls. When Mercedes-Benz had a problem, they came in 1994, wanted to start building cars. There was a clause in their contract that said, okay, fine, you can build, but before you build, you actually need to export. Chand tied up with Voco, a German company, flew 250 tons of equipment to India, built a factory in 30 days. Right? He didn't pour the concrete, he didn't have time. He took 3/4-inch steel plates, welded them together, and that's where he put his machines, and started production in 30 days, started export out of 30 days. This kind of commitment, this kind of leadership, this kind of courage is something that actually is quite not only remarkable, but also something that you see in leading Indian companies. I'll just skip the last point. So basically, if you look at riding the tiger, we believe the world is increasingly complex. Doing business in India is definitely challenging, but you have 6 levers. If you execute those properly, you have a fair chance of not only surviving, but also thriving, both in India and in global markets. It's not rocket science, but unfortunately, I do not believe that we have an alternative. So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wilfried.